Well, we're back here, and it is good to have all of you guys in every single area of the United States. Happy to be here at Radio Genesis TV, and today we are talking about a very controversial subject here in the United States. There's lots going on with Hurricane Harvey. Sadly, a lot of people are stuck in a very terrible situation, but the more peculiar thing is the amount of immigrants that are down there, right, Camilo? Tons of immigrants. And so what are they going through as far as the Red Cross goes?
Well, there's a lot of people right now that are hurt in this situation. You know, talking about DACA. I think at the same time, as we were talking, somebody sent us a message here on Radio Genesis, and they were saying, you know, let's prove Texas wrong right now.
Right. Yeah.
Let's prove that we can do it together. No matter what the Texas government has tried to do against us. Let's come up together and let's prove Texas wrong. Right, yeah.
And so for us growing up in obviously Hispanic communities, we know Texas to be as just like famously said, it's just Texas, it's another Mexico.
Yeah.
Obviously lots of immigrants there. And they're kind of going through those questions of what are we going to do when it comes to going into the Red Cross and having to give either a fingerprint or a social security number. A lot of people are afraid there. Obviously, from the American perspective, an American citizen, and even from the White House office yesterday, they said, from our perspective, coming in here illegally is a crime.
Yeah.
And so the suggestion there is obviously people and children and wives, husbands, they won't be turned down for food or shelter or water or clothing when it comes to Hurricane Harvey. But ultimately, if these people have any kind of additional crimes, is the way they put it. If they have any kind of additional crimes, then they will be rounded up and deported just like any other day. That's
right, and that was for like illegal immigrants that don't have like any type of like protection right now. And in that point of like, it's not like DACA.
Right,
basically.
right. So that's kind of what brings us into the whole DACA conversation, because obviously, I mean, I'd be surprised to find out how many of the people in Houston or just the Texas area affected by Hurricane Harvey. I'd be surprised to understand, how many of those were DACA.
Yeah.
But for the sake of our audience, and given that this is kind of a very controversial subject on the headlines, Camilo, what is DACA? Let's define it.
Well, DACA was a you could say it was like a special program that President Obama made back in 2012, giving the permission to give an update of giving a license, work permit to different kids who needed that, of course, that were brought here illegally.
Right.
800,000 of them now.
And estimates of over 1 million people who are eligible for DACA.
Right.
So DACA functions on a 2-year renewal system. We're talking about boys and girls who were brought to the United States of America before the age of 16, and now having grown up in the United States. I mean, these people, these 800,000, are tax-paying, for all intents and purposes, Americans, right?
Yeah.
They know this country as home. Most of them, I'd say all of them, hopefully, are willing to die for this country, for the principles, the Constitution, the standards, and the ethics, the morals that come with being an American.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think about it all the time, and I think, going back, like we're from Colombia,
right?
And going back to Colombia, I mean, it would be cool.
Yeah, it's a peculiar thought. So if well, let's define this. So Trump has until September 5th. Is that right?
I think that's what they said, September 5th.
5th.
But yesterday they said that they were trying to move that date either sooner or I think later,
and
to see if they were going to announce to cancel it.
And then we have none other than the Texas representative himself is threatening to sue, President Trump, or at least the administration,
right?
Given that his campaign promise was to destroy DACA.
Well, that's the thing. He said that during the election, but then later he changed his mind. So really, we don't know what it comes down to now, because later he said, the DACA kids are in my heart. That's what President Trump said.
Right. Yeah.
So
we don't know what he's going to do.
Right now, we don't know what he's going to do.
Right.
But I think everybody who's got DACA at this moment is talking about what's going to happen at this point.
So if President Trump chooses to end this program, and we're expecting today, September 1st, we're expecting by tomorrow, definitely by September 5th, he's going to give some kind of briefing, or his staff will, concerning whether or not he's going to continue with the program. So the idea, if I'm not mistaken, is that all of these people who have been lucky enough to have their permit renewed now in 2017 will carry out the longevity of that permit until
that's the question.
The end of 2019 or so. So they would have until then to leave the country? Is that kind of what we're looking at?
That's what many lawyers are saying right now. They're saying, even if they do cancel the program, your work permit and your license are still a valid thing that you can continue.
If you have them, though. If you have them.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're DACA, you must have them.
Right, but I'm saying if these people say their term is to expire in November of 2017,
yeah, I mean,
and he cancels the program, they're not going to be able to renew. So their time frame for leaving the country is a lot shorter. Yeah.
Well, not leaving the country because unless he is talking about deportation automatically,
right.
We're not talking about that right now.
Right.
If anything, he'd just say, the program's canceled, and whatever he is going to say. If he says that. That doesn't mean automatic deportation, and that's what many lawyers are trying to tell DACA kids.
Right.
Calm down.
And we want to be careful with kind of being fear mongering or anything.
Yeah,
I
don't want to be like that because yesterday Fox News, and I think many people who watch this video in the DACA groups are gonna agree with us. Fox News came out and said automatically DACA's canceled, and there was no press release, no comment by the White House saying, it is canceled. And
President Trump has really taken his time in mentioning or at least addressing this. This is something that he promised to do within the first 100 days of his administration, and he hasn't done it. So we're looking at something that's really interesting. Here we have 800,000, maybe eligible at least, over 1 million young people, and some of them really are adults now. Some of them are in their high 20s.
Well, that's what we were saying before we went live on this program. Like, what happens to all the people that own houses?
Right.
To all the people that own their cars?
Maybe even married.
That owe the government money.
Right.
Isn't like not
credit
the government, but
debt.
banks.
Right.
They owe their house. They owe their car. They have kids here.
Right.
What
do you do? I mean, if you are, say, deported. And say you have $30,000 in student loan debts,
but that hasn't stopped the government from deporting other people before.
Right.
I mean,
it's just a lot of money that gets lost.
Yeah, I mean, banks get a hit.
Not only in what they owe, but when you look at the numbers of what DACA people are bringing in, just financially,
which is a lot of money.
Income taxes, state taxes, federal taxes, they're bringing in over 1 million. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, I can be wrong on this, but about 8% or more of the federal taxes, the fraction 8% of that is simply alone DACA.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
And in the state, at least here in North Carolina, they're bringing in about the same, about 8%. And so you're talking about 800,000 jobs that employers will now have to fill.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually told my employer about it. I did that back in, I think, December, and I told him, look, I said, it's not looking good for DACA.
Right.
I need to know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
And so he said, calm down. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it.
Right.
But it is scary, because think about it. We're from Colombia, going back to a country where I came here when I was 8. I think you came here when you were 4, right?
Yeah.
So going back to a country that we don't know.
Yeah.
All we know is I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Right.
And all we know is sweet tea since we're from the South.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're from Colombia. I mean, the crazy thing is, I probably was like, this has nothing to do with being an American or not, but I was 13 before I realized Colombia had a president and like a Congress. I thought they were like dictators, and so I had no idea what we were looking at internationally.
Even though I think the greater half of DACA people, we want to go back to our countries so we can meet our families, so we can know more about our countries, but at the same time we want to come back to the country that we've been raised on. And I mean,
I couldn't imagine living anywhere but in the United States, specifically in the town that we live in North Carolina. Small town mentality. Grew up playing baseball here. Sunflower
this is the country
burgers,
we do
French
know.
Fries,
this is the country we know.
Right. Yeah. This is our home.
That doesn't change the fact that other people, that doesn't change the fact that people will make decisions out of that.
Exactly.
But they should. I think they should.
I couldn't imagine definitely going back to Colombia. I don't know how many of the 800,000 are invested in the stock market, but just little things like that. Where you are invested into society here in the United States to draw out and then to obviously, like you said, meet family that you've never met. That's a wonderful idea and concept.
Yeah.
But man, it's a wild thought to kind of go back to. Coffee is universal, right? So like they're gonna have coffee in Colombia. But what do you do for a job over there? What do you do for living over there?
Anemo wrote, she says, hi from Chicago. Let's talk protest. What is happening with Raleigh? I've seen a lot of protests. Yes, I think was it yesterday or 2 days ago? We saw a huge protest in New York.
Yeah, there's lots of protests going on, and And I think there's a good side and a bad side to it. The good side is that we see people who are not DACA or American citizens themselves
that
who
are
supporting
this.
DACA, which is really cool to see. The other thing is that the very famous chant, Anemo, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. I love your name. My name is John, Jhoan. It's spelled weird too. But the sad side of these rallies and these protests is often the chant is that un pueblo dividido jamás. Un pueblo unido no será vencido. So a united people will not be beat.
Yeah.
And so the sad thing is often with Antifa and Black Lives Matter and a lot of the cultural, racial stuff that's going on right now, DACA protests are almost dividing people. And so we have to be very careful who we stand by in front of news medias, because we can be depicted as just some kind of organization such as
I really do think we got to
apart.
be really, really careful the way we do it. I do think we need a protest. I do think we need a rally. But in this whole environment in which we're in, we can get like compared, like you said.
Right, you don't want to be compared with these
especially
people.
Like what you said, like with other organizations. We're not saying Black Lives Matter and other organizations are bad, but the news have depicted they are. And so since we are in that process of like proving to the government that we're not, I think we just need to be really careful. But we have the right under the Constitution of the United States, because we are humans, to do that. So I think we should.
I mean, here's the thing: is obviously President Trump. One of the biggest things that he's always said is that you have immigrants, not just from Mexico or Colombia or Venezuela. You have Irish immigrants, you have Chinese immigrants, and his biggest thing has always been that they come in and they, sadly. I have to be careful with my wording here, and I mean this very delicate. But they rape someone, or they do a breaking and entering, and they really depict immigrant people in general as delinquents. And so the DACA program itself has always been built upon the foundation that these dreamers, as they're called, President Obama called them, these dreamers have to be, upstanding citizens with upstanding grades in school and testimonies in their communities that they are, for all intents and purposes, the American epitome. And so we've seen lately in the last couple of years how the media is just a powerhouse, almost like the fourth branch of government. And if they pick up the DACA protesters and they wake up on the wrong side of the bed and they want to depict DACA protesters as a menace to the society, as if we're going to go now and tearing down statues the way the other groups are, then it's not going to be good. Now, thankfully, from what we saw at the White House press release yesterday, it really seemed like they were up to defend DACA.
Yeah, the journalists were behind
left
us.
and right. Almost all just conservative and liberal news media's outlets seem to be really in favor of the legalization of the 800,000. But we want to know from you, what would it be like to go back to your country? Leave us in the comments on most
this video.
of you are employed. From statistically speaking, most of you are employed. You're tax-paying individuals. You're upstanding citizens here in the United States, or upstanding residents here in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine going back to a country that I don't know. It'd be like honestly, it'd be like being born again. Right?
Yeah, it'd be really weird. I mean, I don't know if he would give the opportunity for these people. If he said, "Well, you can leave and then you can try and go back." But
that's sketchy.
Some kind of visa coming back in. We'll approve it. We were listening to a lawyer earlier who said maybe you could apply for some kind of amnesty if you feel like there's danger going back to your country.
Like people who are like in countries like Salvador, who
or Venezuela, is another big one.
Yeah, I don't know if they would do Venezuela. I wonder
that's the thing about diplomacy.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's what they're considering right now. Just think about it this way: they're trying to deport a big amount of people at this point, and now adding 800,000 kids who have a work permit and who have a license and who work, because most of DACA kids work at high-end jobs. Right. Yeah. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them do. Like because of DACA, we've had the opportunity to work in high-end jobs. Right. And that's really good. I mean, we bring a goodness to society that I think we wouldn't be able to if we didn't have those things.
Right. And again, all of these immigrants are from all sorts of places. They're from Canada. They're from Ireland. They're from China. They're from Europe. I mean, you're talking about all sorts of places.
I would not be surprised if there is DACA people in the White House, or like interns.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting.
Like even DACA kids who work in the Congress.
Yeah, I mean, and from my understanding, a lot of them with college degrees, so Enamo says, I am assisting in a research evaluation with UCLA. there are many professionals who are at risk.
Right.
Yeah, and
that's
so
the thing.
there you
Like,
go.
I mean,
University level. Yeah.
We've studied here. We've went to school.
Right. GEDs, bachelor's degree. I mean, I'm working on my master's degree right now.
There's kids who, like, I don't know if that girl in Texas, somebody in the comments can say if they're watching this, that girl in Texas who got the highest, what is it called? The valedictorian.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was DACA. It wouldn't be surprising if she
I
was. But I think we've
not all DACA are valedictorian, but it's what's important for the American community to understand, the American citizen community to understand, is that DACA isn't just this mesh of immigrants who might be troubled children, or might be troublemakers, or might be, as we would call them, rascals, but that they are, they've gone through a very vigorous filtering system in order to get DACA and become dreamers because they are upstanding citizens. They are a benefit to our society. And I say that because we are American. And so, man, we could talk about this for a long time.
But I want to open these lines for many people who are watching the video, that you can also leave your comments below and let us know what we can talk about. I'd like to do a podcast or a video podcast like what we're doing now, and just come on live and let's have an opportunity to chat. You can call us, you can talk, you can tell us what you're thinking about this thing. We were talking about it yesterday because we watched the press release. We work in radio and I work in television, and we see this every day.
Yeah.
So just thinking about it at the same time is like, like we were talking about, well, we said there yesterday, right? And we were like, what would happen if we went back to our countries?
Wild, man.
We'd have to sell everything we own here so that we could send money to where we're gonna live,
right?
So we can survive,
right? Like we own vehicles here, we own property here, we own clothes.
I don't even know how the work process is in Colombia. I don't even know how to get it. I'm sure it's hard,
right?
And we don't have a degree over there.
No.
We don't have a high school degree over there,
right?
So
it's a wild thought, and here's what we hope to do. Here's what we hope to accomplish through this video. First of all, we don't want to be fear-mongering because, like we said, we don't know the news that are coming out.
Yeah, we just got mad that Fox News did that.
Yeah, there's a lot of news outlets who are definitively saying that DACA will be closed, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we don't want to make a definitive statement on that right now on September 1st.
Right? Why say it if it hasn't happened?
Yeah. So here's what we hope to do. Or accomplish through this video. If you would share this video, if you would comment on this video, we want to have an open dialogue, an open conversation with you about what is going on and how it affects you, whether you are DACA or not. We just want to know if your children are DACA. We want to know what you are going through, and we want you to share this because here's what we hope to do. We want people who are not DACA to see this video and to understand that this is a very, we're dealing with legitimate lives, 800 real people, not virtual characters, not TV show characters, but real people
who have families,
who are going through these thoughts, have families, have kids, have taxes to pay and bills to pay. So we want to hear from you. If you would share and like this video,
I'd
comment.
like to, before we leave, just hear the lawyer's opinion of what we heard earlier in the different radio stations that were live with us, so they can also... we can also hear what he's got to say. Sergio Morales says, University of Florida, med student, will my 3 years just disappear, right? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a good question, yeah.
We've worked hard to get to where we are. I haven't worked as hard as
I don't know if my bachelor's disappears. I don't know if my master's disappears. You said my semester just began. Yeah, because you're talking about transferring to a different board of medicine if you were to go back to whatever country you came from. We're all talking about ordinations going out of the window, certificates going out of the window, all sorts of diplomas that you probably put close to $30,000 into.
Jobs in general. We're talking about jobs that we've worked hard for. I work in television, like I said, and I work in radio, and I've worked hard to the point where we are now. And I'm sure Sergio has also worked hard to get to the point at University of Florida to
which that's awesome, by the way. I think that's really cool that you're
actually really
pursuing that career.
Yeah,
it's a shame that the American society that we love and we want the best for America. We want her to continue, and it'd be a shame for her to use us for tax income purposes, for revenue purposes, for beneficial purposes to the society, to use us and then essentially kick us out, because that's essentially at the end of the day what it is.
Well, Trump has said that that we are in his heart. We'll see how big his heart is in the coming days.
We'll see what that means.
Let's hear this lawyer today. I want everybody to see it. I know he posted it in different DACA groups, but it'd be cool to play it on this video.
Nos está llegando noticia en este
It's in Spanish, by the
momento
way.
de la posibilidad de que el día de mañana el presidente Trump termine el programa DACA. Eso todavía no es confirmado. Es muy importante que ustedes tengan presente que eso no es confirmado. Hay que esperar la declaración del presidente Trump el día de mañana, qué es lo que va a pasar con el programa DACA. Pero esto es algo muy importante que quiero que ustedes sepan. Si el día de mañana al presidente Trump se le ocurre terminar el programa DACA, el permiso de trabajo todavía sigue. El seguro social todavía funciona. Su licencia de manejo todavía funciona. No te pueden quitar tu permiso de trabajo sin pasar por una audiencia interna en inmigración, y eso toma mucho tiempo, ¿ya? Entonces es importante que si mañana ustedes se levantan con la noticia de que terminó DACA, y esperemos que no sea así, quiero que tengan presente que su permiso de trabajo todavía funciona. Ustedes pueden regresar a trabajar mañana y ustedes pueden seguir trabajando hasta que se le expire su permiso de trabajo. Y algo muy importante también que tienen que tomar en consideración es que muchas personas tienen temor, muchos de estos jóvenes tienen temor de regresar a su país. Si tienen temor de regresar a su país y hay un cambio en la ley, eso posiblemente te ayude a pedir un asilo y puede ser que califiques. Y esto es importante porque cuando pides asilo también te dan un permiso de trabajo. Después de 6 meses puedes aplicar para un permiso de trabajo. Entonces es importante que ustedes tengan presente y que se calmen, que en el evento de que mañana, y esperemos que no sea así, pero si termina el programa de DACA mañana, por favor tengan presente que su permiso de trabajo funciona y ustedes pueden regresar a trabajar. No se dejen intimidar de su jefe, de pensar de que lo pueden despedir porque ya el presidente terminó el programa DACA. No funciona así. Ustedes tienen un permiso de trabajo y pueden seguir trabajando legalmente en el país hasta que se le expire su permiso de trabajo.
Right, and that's what we were talking about yesterday, that or today we were talking about that, and we said, we do have a work permit, and so for now it's going to work.
Right.
So
because it's been approved, and you've paid obviously the $465 fee to the United States.
Right.
Immigration branch of the government.
Right. So for now, if you do have a work permit or you do have a license, you'll be fine for now.
Yeah. And well, God willing, that's what we hope, and we hope the best in this situation for so many people, just like Sierra and Anemo.
I mean, for everyone who's DACA, who's gonna maybe see this video later or who's gonna hear this podcast later on our website. Yeah, I mean, we worked hard to where we are, and I think the American government needs to see that.
Yeah, and
I think we've made it known.
Right. We want to put this into perspective to people who are unaware of what DACA would mean to others. So we want to put this into perspective of, hey, if you do this, you're talking about sending people back to a country that they don't know, and that's a very scary thought. Man,
and I'll tell you something. I mean, I don't know if people have gathered that, but we are DACA. We are DACA. We're part of the system, and I just want to say this: it's actually really cool being part of a community where we can all help each other. Like this time, we renewed DACA by ourselves, and it was really easy. Yeah. And it was really cool to be supported by other people in the same promise. So yeah, we're gonna keep doing these live videos. Hopefully today we don't get that bad news from the White House. But if we do, we'll be back because we want to see what's going to happen.
Right.
I'd like to invite, big leaders in the community to this podcast to be here in this video with us, and they can also tell us, how we can all gather together. I know there's been a big movement to talk to your local leaders, to talk to the congressmen, senators, and call them and say, hey, support DACA, be part of the movement. So
right. So thank you so much to all of our audience for sticking with us through the end. We're going to look into a lot of your questions, so if you leave them down in the comments, we will ask the right people. Thankfully, we have a lot of connections in that area. So share this video. We want other people to know what DACA is going through and what our thoughts are.
Yeah, and to that, what was her name that she sent us that comment?
Nemo.
I'd like to have you back, and I know you're doing a research. It'd be cool to be part of this podcast and the different people on it.
All right. We will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining. This is Radio Genesis TV, and we will continue on from here.